Yo, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. This is Cly. Today we're gonna cook up a dark beat for like 21 Savage, that Metro type, something like that, right? So let's get right to it. What I'm gonna do is we're gonna be in 140. Let's go 142. Might change it later. And I'm just gonna use FL keys, lay out a quick little progression, and then we're gonna go find a good sound for it. All right? So I'm sure you guys probably know when we're talking about like anything Metro beats, a lot of them are pretty simple, right? He uses a lot of suspended chords, and honestly, most of his patterns aren't anything too crazy. So I'm gonna lay out a quick 1/4 pattern and then show you what I did. All right, so all I did here, right, is I just made a quick triad chord, and what I'm gonna do in the second one is I'm going to suspend this chord, bringing it down one note. And then rather than just copying this over, like I said, we're going to do a 1/4 progression. So I'm going to go, sorry, there's our 4. And if you know with the 1/4, what's nice about it, right, is you make your triad. And then you drop that top note down, and it'll give it like a really nice progression. You'll hear it a lot in trap beats. So we're going to take that, we're going to copy it over, and we're going to suspend what was originally the middle note before we inverted D down. All right, now I'm going to take this, where it's going to copy that over. I'm going to do Alt S, strumize it, Alt R, a little bit of randomizing, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go and find a cool pad for it. So we'll be back once we do that. All right, so we're back. I found a cool sound. It's in the KC Supreme Electro Bank. It's a pad called Buckle, right? Let me play it to you, and then we're going to clean it up a little bit. Cool. So first thing I'm gonna do is we're going to EQ this a little bit, right? So we'll use EQ2. I want to get rid of some of the low end. So I'll put on a high pass and I'll leave it here for now. Now I wanted to get down a little bit of that ringiness, right around 450. Turn that down. And let's just add a little bit of reverb. Let's cut the low end, right? At least that 445. I don't want to put reverb on the low end, make it muddy. Turn up the pre-delay. Probably needs a higher size, and we want it to cross a bit more. Turn up the wet, turn up the ER, make it a little bit stereo, and then turn this down. Cool. All right, so now we got a bass right there, right? Next thing I want to do is we're going to just add a piano underneath it, just like, classic. You'll hear it in a lot of shit. So I'm going to grab Keyscape. We'll probably grab this cinematic piano right here. Tends to be a good one. If not, we'll switch it out. And I'm just going to lay the root notes, right? So for this, we had D, D, and then G. Now you'll see I only want them, I don't want it to play every bar. It's going to be too much, right? So I'm going to just make it every 2 bars. When it changes in the progression, we'll also change to that G. So we bring it down to D2, and we copy one up to D3. Going to turn that velocity down a bit and just strumize these, right? So now we have this, and I'll turn it down. So you'll see all I really did there is EQ it, right? And then what I am going to do, even though there's reverb already on the piano, I'm going to grab Valhalla Vintage Verb. I have this dark piano preset I made, right, where I turn down the decay by about half. The mix comes way down, pre-delay way down. And I'm going to turn up the low cut because I don't want to be adding reverb to that muddiness. Put it around like 350, something like that. and then we'll change the knob a bit here. Cool, so that's good so far. Next thing I want to do is we want to get some sort of melody in here, right? So I'm going to copy over these original chords, and what we're going to do is we're going to keep the suspended ones, right? So, boom. There's our suspended chords, right? Or the suspended notes from our chords. What I want to do now is probably turn this into some sort of half step pattern on every beat. So I think what I'm going to do is try this. But that might not sound so good, right? Because it's going to be like this. I'll play it. All right, that's not really that cool. So what I'm actually going to do is we're going to switch it up a bit. I'm going to bring this up here, and then we're going to see what this sounds like. And we're going to do the same thing here. Just bring it up. 7. Cool. That works for me. I am going to shift Q to quantize this, control L to whatever it's called, connect them all together, and double this. And then we're going to go find a better sound for this. And the one thing I am going to do, right, is I'm going to just switch this up and bring it back down on that last note here on both, just so it transfers in a little bit better to that A sharp again, and throw a little bit of randomization on this. And now we will go, and I'm going to find a sound, probably like a pluck, a lead, maybe even a pad, something like that, but I'll come back once I found it, all right? I bet. So we're back. I found a sound in this Ocean View pack called ARP Stephanie. It's not really much of an ARP, though. It's really just like a bit of a bell. It did have a couple of the other synths on. I turned them off, so I just got this sound. Let me play that for you. So I want to mix that in, get it sounding right. Okay. All right, so all I did there is I left delay on basically the default preset, except I changed it to ping pong, dropped the cut by half, and then turned it down to like 25%-ish. And then with the reverb, you know, you saw I turned up the wet, the ER a lot. I wanted more decay going on, and I turned up the low cut and the size, all right? And then I turned down the reverb a bit because it was just a little bit too much, but I think it sits in the mix a little bit better with that reverb and delay on it. So let's hear that all together again. Cool, so that sounds good. Next thing I want to do is I want to bring in some sort of sub bass. So I'm gonna go. I have this one for my man Stoney's World. He's got crazy kits. Definitely go check him out. But yeah, this is my favorite sub bass folder. I use this all the time. It's got 6 sounds like this. Now, I think on something like this 12 sounds good, right? I want a darker, grittier vibe going on. And I'm just basically going to put down 2 notes every 4 bars, same as the piano, right? Just hitting that D and then that G. Now, the reason I'm not doing anything crazy here is I'm really only going to use this for parts where we don't have the 808 in, just to fill up some low end. So let's go ahead and get this sound right. Cool, and then the last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna probably grab something from Arcade and try to just get some sort of like nice, thick, probably male vocal riding in the background. It's gonna sound nice underneath this, right? So I'm gonna come in, go to male vocals. Yeah, we'll start with this one, see if there's anything good in there. I'm in D minor, and we'll leave it as it is. And I'll be back once I find something for it. All right, we're back. I found something dope here. It's going to sound all right at first, and then we're going to throw a vocal mix on, and I'll show you how I do that, build it out, and it'll sound a lot better. I really just want this to sit in the background probably for like the verses, so we just have a little bit of change up going on, right? So let me play that. Cool. So what I'm going to do first here is I'm going to throw on Fruity Chorus. Let's hear that. Turn down a bit. After that, we're going to check out what Fruity Love Filter on default does for us. This is a trick I use all the time to get these vocals from Arcade to sit in the mix really nicely. So let's check that. Cool, that's perfect. Next thing I'm going to do is we're going to throw on some Fruity Delay 2. I'm going to cut this, what's that, 65%, throw on Ping Pong. I'm going to leave this a bit higher and throw on some Fruity Reverb 2, cut the low end, cut a little bit of the high end, crank the size pretty high up, good bit of pre-delay, crank the decay a bit, bring up the wet, ER, and stereo, and I want it to cross a lot, so we'll turn that up, take the bass down, and probably turn this down a bit. So let's hear that. Cool, that sounds good to me. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this wider plugin, but you can use anything for stereo width that you have. But I'm going to probably take it to like 65%, see what that hits for. And the last thing I want to do is just EQ out a bit of this ringing that we're getting. You hear that? I don't want that, so I'm going to cut it by like 3 dB. We got a bit here too. It's going to make it a little bit cleaner in the mix. I'm going to bring this down. All right, that should be fine. Let's check it. Cool, that's probably a good starting point. So next thing I want to do, just while I do the drums, and we'll automate this in later, is I'm going to throw on a high pass, order steep 8, and cut all this low end. Like 300 is probably cool for now. Again, we're going to come back to that and adjust it once we're done with the drums and automate it throughout the track. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off my sub bass, right? I don't want that while I'm laying the 808. And I think I just got like a Spins 808 in here. So let's go ahead and lay a pattern. Now, what we're going to do for the drums, right, like Metro's type of stuff, it's going to be pretty simple. It's basically going to have like, you know, a nice catchy, bouncy 808 and kick pattern, and then we're going to have our standard clap. We'll bring in hi-hats. It'll probably be a pretty basic hi-hat pattern. And we might add like a snare or two and some open hats, but we're going to keep it pretty basic and give a lot of room for the artist to actually rap on it, right? So let's go ahead and start getting these 808s in. Now, I want to try these at the G, but they, might not end up sounding so good. But let's check it out, right? Cool. So that sounds good to me. I'm going to add an extra one here. And later we might chop in a couple rolls, right? But I'm just going to bring that up an octave. I think it'll sound cool. And I'm going to bring this up 7. See what that sounds like. Cool. Next thing I'm going to do is I want my 808 to go the entire way, right? But you hear it's kind of cutting out on those long sections, right? So I'm going to open it in the audio editor. And what we're going to do is we're going to come in here, click set loop, drag this way over. And you need to have this to snap to 0 crossing. And just bring this over. We're going to start zooming in. And all I'm looking for is hitting a halfway point there. And then just catching the entire thing, right? So this would just be the bottom. I want the entire up and down of that 808. Then all I'm going to do is just simply drag this back in over here, turn on use loop points, and we should be all right. Cool. Last thing I want to do is I want to use the out knob a little bit to control this a bit better. I think that sounds pretty good. So let's go ahead and get the rest of the drums in here. So I'm going to go to my Saucy kit. I'll probably drop a new one of these soon with some upgraded sounds, but this is my go-to like personal kit that I cooked up. I'm going to grab this bando clap, tends to sound really good, and we're going to just start throwing this in on C. And the next thing I want to do, right, is I'm hearing it, and I think it'll sound cool, that little like yeet bell shit, right? So I'm going to drag this in, put it in my perk spot. I know that this is in G, so we're going to go ahead and adjust that to G so that it is in key. And I think I really just want it on the 1. Alright, so that's cool. You'll see I added a little bit of reverb, a little bit of delay, and for the delay, I turned it to a time of 4. I think it'll just sound a little bit better in there. And then what we're going to do is let's get the hi-hats going. Actually, I lied. Let's get open hats and then some snares. So I'm going to come over, grab a open hat that I like a lot. It's in this Narda Wick kit by like KD Pro, I think. Boom. This one bangs. You'll notice I have the out knob up a bit. Let me show you the difference, right? just controls like the length of it a bit. So I'm normally going in and adjusting this so it sits right for what I want of the speed of the beat. So let's go ahead and hear that. I'm not going to use this open hat on like the 1 or the 3 or anything. I'm going to use it more like as a transitional open hat. Alright, so you'll see what I did there, right, is I messed with the out knob until it held exactly how long I want it to, and then I actually came here and turned up the boost a bit just so it hits a little bit harder, right? You saw that waveform get bigger there. Alright, so after that, feeling cool with that, I'm going to come in, we're going to add a little snare, get some bounce going, and then we'll come back and address the hats, alright? Cool, so I think that's cool. We might add those two at the end, but we're going to hear after we do the hi-hats. So let me grab a better snare. Yeah, so I like that one. I'm going to turn it down a bit. You'll notice I have my snares in D, not because it's the key of the beat or anything. I just a lot of times find a lot of these snares sound a little bit better in my beats when I take them up like 1 to 3 notes on the scale from C, right? So here, I'll show you. We'll mess around and see what sounds better. Yeah, so for the sound I'm going for, I want it to be a little bit higher, so I think D's cool. We'll leave it there. Next thing I'm going to do is throw in those hi-hats, right? So let's grab like a cold hi-hat, maybe something like that. I'm going to fill each 4 steps. What I like to do to get some bounce is do 4 steps when I want a 2-step hi-hat, and then copy this over to make it 2 steps, alt scroll, bring down the velocity a bit, right? So you'll hear we have this. Now if I compare that with just like the 2-step, a little bit more bouncy, right? Nothing crazy. What I'm gonna go in now is probably just add a couple little rolls here. Yeah, let's mess with it. I'm probably maybe just gonna add like a little double. If you don't know this, highlight it, hold in Alt, drag it, you get full control. Cool, so I'm sure you know from like Metro 21 Savage type beats, like the hi-hats are usually pretty simple, right? So that's what I did, right, is I just kept it simple. I don't really want too much going on, right? Again, it's all about leaving space for the artist on the beat. And I don't want to like turn these hi-hats way down, which I would do a lot if I have like crazy hi-hat patterns, right? Like I really want this to be there for that consistent bounce. So really simple hi-hats, we really didn't do much, right? Now, one thing I'm going to do, right, because I have chords hidden, I have an 808 hitting, and I have this yeet bell hitting, I'm going to come in and I'm just going to shift it a little bit, give it a little bit of room. Sounds cleaner, right? Same thing, a lot of people do it with claps. Sometimes gives you a little bit more bounce just by shifting that a little bit so it's not exactly on the grid and so robotic. So I'll do that here too. Now I also cut the hi-hat. I just, this is a hi-hat I made. It's got a bunch of like reverbs, got a tad bit of delay, right? So I wanted to cut a little bit of that out, but still kind of preserve that sound. So I turned up the out knob. Now right here, this transition, right? I want something to hit here. It's like, right? Just the 808 right now, but I want to bring something in. So we could do like a hi-hat, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use like a Vox here. So maybe like... That might sound good. I think I got one I like a little bit better up here. So we're going to grab this Kenny Stomp and just bring that over and I'll put it boom, boom, crank that up. Let's see what that sounds like. So actually, I don't love that right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clone this, copy this, and we're just going to see real quick if I can find a better sound, right? Like maybe a different open hat. So I'm going to come in here and grab some sort of open hat. Almost not high enough. Just gonna bring that volume down. Cool, so I do think that I like that. Let me check one thing. Velocity, cool. All right, so right now let me play it. I think we have some good drums going on, some nice bounce. I might do one more thing to the hi-hats here. Actually, matter of fact, I'm gonna do it. So I'm going to drag this over, Alt U. I want a lot of those little johns, right? So I'll accept. I'm going to bring the velocity down on this, and I'm gonna come into fine pitch. I'm going to go from here to here, and we're going to hear this. I just added in a couple little hi-hats here to give it a little bit more bounce, right? So now I think we're good. Let me play the whole thing, and then let's go ahead and let's split this out into a beat real quick. Cool, so I hope y'all think that's hard. I think it's pretty cold. I actually know exactly who I'm going to send this beat to already. Just going to rearrange. I'm a little bit nerdy with the colors and shit. If you can see, I love having templates. In fact, I'll probably drop a couple templates soon for free for anybody out there that needs them. If you need them in the meantime, send me a DM, bro. I'm happy to help people for real. All right, so we're gonna start. We're gonna take out the arcade, and we'll probably bring that in maybe like here. So let's see. Oh, and then I need to come back and I'm going to automate. Remember, I have the EQ cutting the high end, right? So I do this even when I use loops. Like I always just cut all of that low end so I have room for the 808s, and then I'll come back later and I will automate that. So for the points where there's not any bass coming in, you know, of course I want some low end or it'll sound kind of hollow, right? So here you'll see I just did that. Cool. So let me get rid of the. Do I even have the bass on? I do not. Let's hear it like that now. And then, of course, once the 808s come in, we're getting rid of that bass. So I'm just get rid of the whole way. And we'll introduce kind of like switch up every 8 bars, right? So we have no hi-hats here. Boom, we'll drop into the hi-hats. And then after that, we'll bring in the arcade with that vocal in the background. Let it sit for a couple bars. We'll take that out. We'll take this out. We're going to drop the hats and do a little bit of a transition. So let's play. See, I just copied this over, right? And that's going to take us to like 2.5 minutes. One thing I do definitely want to do, though, is I think right here, I wanted to slow it down a little bit more, actually, just like have that break. But if we're only at 2 minutes, 2:30, okay. I like making my beats around 2 minutes, 2:30. Right, cool. And I almost forgot I need to automate this in. Right. Cool. All right, so we look good there. I should have made those unique. It would have worked better. Let me go ahead and do that, because I definitely don't want that cut out there. Cool. Yeah, the only spot should be there. And I will go ahead and I will bring that sub bass back in. So let's hear that. Cool, so I'm feeling good about that. I'm gonna go ahead and play y'all the full beat, and then I'll see you next time. All right. Hope you got some game from this. Like I said, I'm always around. Hit me up on Instagram, YouTube, whatever. If you got any questions or anything I can help you with, I'm glad to help for real. So, thanks for tuning in today.